you've clicked the thumbnail, no need for introductions, you know what's coming, let's just get straight into it. It is here. I have waited so long for the suspension to turn up. It's here. I want to thank everybody behind the scenes, Tough Trek and ALB UK. Obviously ordered the stuff, paid for it, and there was a bit of a delay with customs and people on it. So I really appreciate all the help that everybody's put in the effort to get these shocks and the coils over to me. It's been a bit of a wait, but it's here. It's not a huge issue, but they're here. I'm very happy. Now, Old Man Emu BP51s is creme de la creme of the Old Man Emu off-road suspension range. The reason why I chose these particular shocks and coils is I kind of got my hands on these a couple of years ago when I installed a set in a Ford Ranger. I absolutely loved the quality, the attention to detail, the R&D that's gone into these suspension components. I was very impressed with everything and just how everything functioned, especially on the shocks. Coils is obviously a no-brainer. It's just obviously metal, etc. But these things were something else. I was really impressed with them. So this is what we've chosen for the Cruiser, and I can't wait to get these things in. The Old Man Emu suspension that's currently in there, I'm not sure when that was changed or when that was installed. So that is very, very tired. The front is sagging. I have measured the front. The passenger side measures from center of axle to underneath the arch is 540 and driver side is 550, so there's about 10 mil difference. Not a huge amount, which is good, but overall the nose is, she's very heavy into, well, she's tired. The suspension is really tight. The rear suspension, the rear coils, they seem to be very heavy duty suspension. I've obviously loaded everything up in the back and it really hasn't affected it too much, which is good. Suspension in the back is okay, but it's going to get a freshen up, so without a doubt. So we've got heavy duty suspension for the back, 400 kilogram constant load springs for the rear, take up all the weight for the drawers, the full fridge, the pantries, all the tools, all the gear in the back, water tanks, you name it, all the gear, so it'll be able to take all that weight. And then we have a constant load on the front as well, 150 kilos, winch, bumper and winch, etc. And then we've got obviously the shocks, which will help with the rebound and compression with that as well. So I am very keen to get these in the truck as soon as I can, take it for a drive and share with you my first impressions and experiences of the Old Man BP51s. Whew. Let's get them in. Okay, installation process should be relatively simple. My common sense tells me maybe not. I've seen loads of videos on YouTube about how to install suspension on 80 series, so there's plenty of information out there. The idea, what I haven't seen though, is chaps compressing the coil springs before they lift the truck. So I'm not sure why they don't do that. So I'm going to do that, just that. I'm going to, before I lift the truck, I'm going to put coil compressors in there, grab that coil, hold them in position, lift the truck, and then that coil should be still under tension, and that the shock tower should release that coil relatively easily. So that's the idea. We're going to get that out nice and easy. Then we'll be able to release those coil compressors, and then move the coil compressors onto the new coil, and basically vice versa, do everything in reverse, put the new coil in, and the shock itself is basically 2 bolts, top, bottom, and that's a simple change. What we do need to keep in mind is the bypass cylinders. They will be mounted in a particular way, I think especially on the fronts, so there'll be bracketry and stuff involved, so that should be okay to do. It's just the coils that worry me. So that's the idea what we're going to do. So wish me luck and hope you enjoy the video. It worked. Let me show you. Voila! See, spring compressors, obviously These things are cheeky, so you've got to be very careful of these things. You got to treat these things with respect. So be very careful with this. I'm sure you can kind of see what the hell's going on here. It's probably not the safest way of doing things, but I am being very, very careful on what I'm doing. It has worked. High lift jack. I've got a secondary jack underneath the axle just to kind of hold that truck where it needs to be, just on center of balance, holding that center of gravity. High lift jacks obviously lift the body as high as it can go, which has extended the axle down and has basically released the coil from the tower. It's exactly what I wanted, and that happened within 5 minutes, so it has worked. So now it's just taking your time, release these coil compressors, changing over to the new spring, getting that chucked in, put the new shock on, and we go over to the next side. So fingers crossed, this should be relatively painless. Okay, before we carry on, the question in everybody's minds is what size lift are we going? So currently on the truck was a 2-inch lift, very, very tired 2-inch lift. Now we're going for a 3 to 4-inch lift. We've made the necessary adjustments to the components, ready to accept that 3 to 4-inch lift. So I've done that over the past few months, just upgraded the brake lines, done the cost correction, done loads of other little bits and pieces in the meantime to get ready for that little bit of lift. Why 3 to 4? 3 to 4 I think is ideal. Just a little bit more road presence, not too high. When you start getting too high, especially with a loaded up truck like this, you start getting a lot of that boat feeling, that sway, and we're trying to minimize as much as possible. So all I'm trying to do here is just get the nose up, get that bonnet and that ride nice and level throughout, and have that luxurious feel of a new fresh suspension kit in the truck, and having that ability to adjust the suspension for different terrains. So which is good. That's what I'm aiming for. So this should freshen things up, give it a little bit more road presence. That's exactly what we're aiming for. She's very imposing as we are already, but if you were to see her in the flesh, she does drop her nose down a little bit, and from the side she does sit very, very low on the nose. So it's time to bring that up, bring her nice and level, and I think that'll change things up quite nicely. Okay, coil is in. Now remember what I said, you've got to take your time with those spring compressors. They are very dangerous if you don't undo them equally, so take your time with them, treat them with respect. You've got to imagine that you've got a huge spring under a tremendous amount of compression, so be very careful. Now this is pretty crazy, check this out. So the existing Old Man Emu shock that I pulled out of here, I couldn't believe it when I saw it myself. Now what looks like a manufacturing date of the 2nd of December 96. So this has been in the vehicle, so this is a 91. 5 years later this was in. So she's turning 33 this year in August. That's crazy. That's like 28 years old suspension. Now hopefully that look at that. So someone correct me if I'm wrong. 2nd of December 96. 28 years old suspension. Yeah, it's not even bouncing back. Oh my god. They are absolutely toast. That's effortless. Yeah, they are toast. Completely toasted. Wow. 28 years these have been stuck in that vehicle and no one's changed them. What the hell? 28 years. Well, I mean, kudos to Old Man Emu. I mean, the paintwork and everything is in relatively decent shape from being in Europe. And Europe is like really evil on any paintwork and salts and stuff. So, hats off to you guys, Old Man Emu. Well done. This is pretty impressive. So, onto the BP51s. I'm super impressed. Okay, here we have it. The first of the BP51s, the front is about to go in. First impression, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, that shock tube there, right, is at least double the amount of the old version. And that body itself there, I mean, that thing means business. These things are pretty badass. So these are for your, so that's just your cover. So you've got rebound and compression adjustment on there. There's a key for that. the keyway, and that adjusts the rebound and compression. For now, let's just get these things in the truck and let's get that. We'll mess around with the goodies later. Success! Suspension is done in the front. It went in pretty smoothly. My plan worked. The spring compressors, they did an awesome job. So I planned it correctly, and it pulled the rabbit out of the hat. I'm pretty stoked about that. So, and all done here at home, which is pretty cool. So for those of you out there who'd like to attempt something like this, you can do this at home. So, but like I said before in the video, please treat the spring compressors with the utmost respect. It is very sort of a high risk job to do that, so be very careful. Overall, everything went in really simple. The shocks were awesome, brackets, everything went in really smoothly. Both sides have come up nice and equal, both an equal 40 mil on each side, which is just over an inch in travel height, well, in actual ride height, which is really nice. So it's leveled out the front to the current rear suspension. So I suspect it will match the new rear suspension. There is a definite change in how the suspension rebounds and kind of works. I've been pressing around on the bumper, which is pretty cool. So I'm really stoked. I really want to get into the truck and go and take it for a ride. But as you can see, I'm covered head to toe. I'm gonna call it a day. I will see you guys tomorrow. When we do the rear of the suspension, we finish it off and we'll take the truck for a ride, and I'll give you my first impressions on how everything performs and my thoughts. So, and that'll obviously be an ongoing thing with the channel. So awesome, thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Round 2, day 2. I've got Alfie with me today, which is good. All the help I'm going to need. We're doing the rear suspension today. The truck is super heavy in the back. But it's going to be the same concept as the front, is compressing those springs, lifting the truck, let those springs drop out, and then basically do everything back in reverse. So fingers crossed, hopefully we are blessed by the 4x4 gods and things go in relatively smoothly. So enjoy the time lapses. If you have any questions, let us know, and then we'll see you shortly. Okay, so the first rear one is done now. The rears were particularly easier than the fronts, although we had to cut the old shock out. So I'll show you the old shock. That was the old shock, matching front. You can see how completely worn out these shocks are. I can compress them with my hand, and there's so little rebound left in them. I mean, these shocks I think are the same as the fronts. These are 28 years old, so these are definitely worn out. So I chopped the top off, got them out, and relatively the spring we just drooped up, disconnected the sway bar, drooped the suspension. We used the high lift jack on the back, got the body up, and the spring just dropped out nice and easily, which is really good. Shock went in pretty good. Everything went in really well. We've got the sway bar and the bracket mount for the reservoir that's in, and the only fiddly bit was the physical mud guard that protects the shock. That was a bit fiddly, so you had to get under there and kind of jiggle it and to get it in position, which was okay. And then in the kit you get these tools. These are your adjustment tools for your rebound and your compression. These literally just go onto your shock like that, and you can just set your shock in terms of whichever way you want to have a stiffer rebound or a slower compression. It totally depends on your situation and the environment you're going to be driving in. So these are done, so we're going to get into the other side, do the final one, and then take this bad boy for a test drive. initial impressions, straight out of the gate, as soon as we pulled out of the garage onto the road, it was just like being on cloud number 9. Huge difference. On-road performance, off-road, it literally just soaked up all potholes, ditches, you name it. It just soaked everything up. Whereas previously I had to slow right down, and the truck kind of just to save it from hitting the bump stops and stuff. So I didn't really realize how bad the suspension was previously. And like I mentioned before in the video, the suspension has come right up. The nose is lifted up. The rear is nice and level with the front, so it sits really well. And then just the off-road performance with some of the weights in the back at the moment, it's just superb, absolutely superb. I'm running on factory settings at the moment. I haven't changed anything. I think I may down the line just kind of tweak a few pieces here and there, just kind of give it a little bit more stiffing up on the sides. I'm going to try and slow that sway down just a touch, but overall, so impressed. I'm so glad I went with the BP51s. The installation was literally flawless. All the components just work straight out of the gate. There's obviously a lot of R&D and process, thought process got into all the bracketry, all the nuts and bolts, everything that you get in the kit. It just bolts straight in, no hassles. I literally had 0 hassles with the whole kit. So we were blessed by the 4x4 gods this time, and I'm very grateful for that. Join us in the next episode where we're going to be doing some more cool stuff on the 80 series. Thank you so much for getting this far in the video. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let us know down below, and we'll definitely see you in the next one.
I have exorcised the demons. This house is clear.